Hello, everyone. Again, I'm back here with Miss Dana Arthur, and we just finished reading The Blended Garden, and we're back to talk about segregation and separation. I don't want to say versus, but because the two are different, but I don't like the word versus. So, segregation and segregation. But before we talk about it, we have to know a little bit about you, Dana, and your journey um, from a multicultural city to a city that quite doesn't look like you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm living in Clearwater, Florida, which is I think it's the demographic is like, people of color 10% now or something like that,
Mhm,
maybe.
mhm.
So and coming from New York, the big melting pot of multicultural love. I mean, it feels like love now. Maybe it was fighting your way through, but
Right, right.
felt good. And I miss it. So right now, I've kind of adjusted to it. It's
Mhm,
been 11 years. And it took me a long time to really kind of come to a place of acceptance. And
mhm,
this is what it is. And I found my little tribe within
mhm.
um, this area.
What was
I
that like when, like your first year? 11 years, that's a long time. Um, what was that like your first year? Was it
It was
culture shock? That's what they call it, right? Culture shock.
I was like, I was kind of bitter.
Okay.
Other stuff going on too, but in terms of just that
That's
part of it.
that's honest. That's honest because we and I'll be talking. You feel free to cut me off, and I'll cut you off because that's where the ideas and thoughts come as we speak freely. This is unedited. But when you say you were bitter, I think I was talking to someone about the dandelion, like a what if. What if the dandelion, didn't transform and just turned into this like bitter flower that was angry? Like, wow, you have me all the way over here, and I want to be all the way over there with everyone else involved, included. So what, obviously you're not now. You've transformed within, but what does that feel like? Because that's a very real feeling. No one wants to ever say I'm bitter, but that is real. I've been bitter, and there are days still where I can feel bitter about something, where you don't feel included or you feel cheated, robbed, whatever the word is. So it's a very real feeling, and it's a feeling that we should not be ashamed of, because I think once we deal with that feeling, then we can get to that next place where,
Past it. That's very true.
yeah.
Yep.
So let's talk about the bitter part, because that's okay, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what it looked like for me is, me, talking about what's missing.
Mm,
There's no art here. There are no Black people here. There's no movement of progress in terms of, any injustices or inequities.
mm.
Nobody's speaking up about it. And it just felt so
Nice.
hmm,
Just nice.
nice. Yeah, nice. And
Just
thank you, ma'am.
nice.
So it just didn't, feel comfortable for me
Mhm.
because and I felt like I didn't fit in because I'm outspoken and I talk a lot and I talk fast, I think people were taken aback by my whole, you know
Leaner.
just me, as a person. It was like shock for them too. So
When you
and which
say just me, it's like I call it like your authentic self. I'm learning
Yeah,
a lot about my authentic self. When you're in different communities, you have to adjust and change certain things, and then you get to this middle ground where you say, you know what, this is me, and this is me in this space, and this is me in this space, and you have to figure out who is like what is my authentic self, where I feel completely comfortable despite how other people perceive my authentic self.
and to fit into it and to assimilate, you have to be really careful about what you're willing to give up to fit in. You
Mm,
know, lose yourself in the process,
right,
right?
right. Do you feel like you gave up some things that first few years because you had to acclimate and adjust and adapt, those three A's in those
Yeah.
first few years? Or maybe was it 1 year, or was it 5 years, or
For instance, um, in job search, I had my part of my resume was me having my own, working. I worked in advertising, But I also had my own business. I'm a jewelry designer. I had a website and I did shows and I had magazine placements for my jewelry in magazines, and so I was proud of all that. So I had all of that on my resume about doing my own PR and being a PR person and getting national magazine placements, and so it was kind of almost like these are part of my skill sets.
That's a
Um,
skill, exactly. A leadership role.
because I was having a hard time with the HR people. There was like, not getting a job. Says you need to take that off because people, they're going to think that you're
An
not
artist.
an artist. You're not going to stay. You're, just it made me. You need to be a worker bee. Don't try to even have them perceive you as somebody who could create their own, out of just
Out of
whatever.
nothing. Make something beautiful out of nothing.
Yes.
But wouldn't
So
you want, like, just to talk about job roles, you know, part of being a leader in a job is being able to create something out of nothing. It's being able to be proactive. It's being able to think forward. It's being able to, take an idea and run with it. And if you don't have those skills, then you can't be a leader. So if you did your own PR and you created something and you have people coming for you, you would think common sense. This is someone I want on my team.
exactly. I mean, but then we're talking about Florida HR person,
Yeah.
who, coming from New York, and it was just like a little intimidation factor. I felt that I was just not being received.
Right.
So I resume, I took it. I mean, that was something I did, and I got a job.
Nice. See?
So I had to change some things and kind of mute it down a little bit.
Right.
Um, kind of made me a little that was part of the bitter too. Like why do I have to do that? Why
Right.
can't I, be proud of my accomplishments and build on that? So but it was very it was a kind of an awakening. It
Mm-hmm.
was.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. And so, okay, so you move from the blended garden of New York City to the nice place out there in Florida. And we love Florida, don't get me wrong. My son is there now. I love all parts of Florida. But, you know, you are trying to fit into this, new space and still stay true to your, identity. So here you go. You move into this house. So now, what's that like? Because now that you're in the house, you have to move about, you have to go to the supermarket, you have to go outside, get your mail, you may see someone. Like, what does that feel like to you now?
I mean, I didn't have other than one instance, I really didn't have any bad experiences.
That's good.
Uh, but it just felt foreign. I mean, it's a whole different vibe than New York, of course. I mean,
Right.
it's just don't have the really great conversation. I would be riding on the train and somebody next to you holding on. You have this amazing conversation. Oh, bye, have a good life. And
Yeah.
then you move through. But it's you feed off of that because
Right.
everybody dynamic and doing stuff, and I don't you don't get that here as
Yeah.
much.
And you said something really important. You said, I didn't have, it wasn't a bad experience. Like, it's not like no one threw an egg at your house. And I think that sometimes we have this mentality when we see the media, and we think just because someone may not feel comfortable blending doesn't mean they're racist. It doesn't mean they have hate in their heart. It doesn't mean that they're going to come after you and hurt you. You know, it just may mean that, like you said, there's an uncomfortability. And that uncomfortability in turn made you uncomfortable. So now you have these two, I'll call them flowers, that are uncomfortable, just uncomfortable. And being uncomfortable is so, I don't know, for me, I feel like that's a more scary place than someone actually coming outright and saying, we don't want you here.
Like a low grade fever that just eats away at you. It's low. It's just it is, and it kind of it's a spirit killer.
Yeah,
So
it's that nausea that just doesn't go away. It's like, can I just vomit already? And it just sits there all day. You just feel like, oh, yeah, that's kind of what it is. And so let's talk a little bit about, so I've been doing my own research about separation and segregation. And, I come from the Nation of Islam. So I grew up with these, watching Malcolm X, and he did an amazing interview, and he just really broke down the difference. And what he did was he said, I don't want to read it, but I hope I say it right. He You can all, if you're watching, you can Google it. Malcolm X talks about segregation versus separation, but he refers to the Negro community back then.
Mhm.
That would be called segregation, because obviously people were put in a certain place. It's like you're organized, you're sorted into this place, you're placed there by an outside force or whatever, political, economic, whatever. And then he mentioned how, separation was kind of like you have, yes, you're separated. No, segregation was you own, no, the separation was you own your own things. So then he talked about Chinatown, how in China, they own their own businesses, they own their own schools, they own everything. Everything is theirs. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a wonderful thing.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's that feeling of, okay, is it a bad thing if people want to just kind of have their own space in place? I don't know. I can't say yes or no, but it definitely is something to think about. But the question really is, how does it make people feel? How does it make the person that does it, who is the dandelion coming in? And that's kind of where it's like, well, then is this okay? Because it's okay when everyone's the same.
Yes.
But then
Yes.
when that one new entity comes into the circle, then how do things shift? How do people's mindsets shift? People's perceptions, people's conversations, people's behaviors, how do they shift? And it's like that's where the uncomfortability comes from.
Right. Right. Yep. And that's something we have to look at. I mean, because separation is okay as as long as when you do have to come together, there's an acceptance and no animosity. Look at Harlem, like Strivers Row. I used to love to go to Strivers Row and see, those beautiful brownstones. That's fine. I mean, I think it was great. We don't have that here.
Right, right. When you choose to separate for whatever particular reason,
Hmm.
So you kind of feel like the dandelion out there a little bit
Yeah, I really,
in the
but I'm
beginning.
feeling great now. I mean, I found have my tribe, you
And
know.
so basically, when you say you found your tribe, you, like the dandelion, you transformed, you changed, and you found a way to kind of adapt into the environment. So how did you do that?
By seeking out my art, really through art, because I'm a creative being, finding other creative beings through doing shows and on social media, and just made my connections, and found my like-minded people, and it's a good thing. So I mean, it's out of my neighborhood. I have to travel outside of my circle here, where I live to and drive 30 minutes to get there.
Right,
But
right. But I think it's pretty amazing that no matter who you are, women, we love jewelry. No matter what, where you are in life, we all wear earrings. We all love
right.
our necklaces and our rings and our baubles and all kinds of things. So that may be a connector.
Yeah, because a lot of my I have a very multicultural group of clients who buy my jewelry. It doesn't appeal to
Mm.
any type of woman,
Mhm.
so it's like, when you see a pair of earrings that speak to you, it doesn't matter who made them. It's like, wow, those are beautiful.
Right.
So it's just, that's been a great connection. That, and my dog. I have a dog, a little puppy, and she's been a really good for in terms of meeting a lot of different people, taking her to the dog park, and
Mhm. Well, that may be a nice way too when you're walking in the neighborhood with your dog. Everyone loves dogs, right? But I want to go back to when you talked about your authentic self, because you found your authentic self and you're still in your space where you're
Mhm.
finding your comfort zone. And I don't know if you've heard of the Crown. Have you heard of the Crown Act?
The Cram Act. No,
Crown. It's called the Crown Act.
no, 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 no.
So from what I understand, it started to originate, I guess, down there, and I think it was Keepsake. I don't know. Kiss, Kissame.
Kiss me. Yes,
Okay.
that's.
Kissimmee. So basically, they created a law that you cannot not hire someone if you wear locks, if you come in and your hair is like mine,
Or
and
mine.
or your right, exactly. So it's called the Crown Act, and the goal was so that people who looked like us, who had hair like us, could go into the workplace and be their true, authentic self. But now that would be crazy in New York City.
Oh, they couldn't do that. They
No,
couldn't do
well,
it.
they could, but it would because of how we live here, and because we cross all different types of people just in 1 hour of moving about the metro area of New York City. It would be weird, our hair is celebrated. I go to work and people are like, oh my gosh, your hair looks great, what are you doing with it? So imagine being in a place where it's almost kind of like, what's happening on top of your head?
Right. This is not, you're not right. Yeah. Wow. I'd never heard of them. No, when was this, that Crown Act enacted? When was that?
Oh gosh, I don't know when it was, but it was recently because it wasn't maybe years ago. And maybe like I would say maybe 10, I'm not sure, but Google it. But it is definitely called the Crown Act, and it's spreading. It's spread to those places where it needed to spread.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
But I love that because there's nothing worse than not being able to be your true and authentic self.
yeah. But so the Crown Act was against our hair or for our
No, the
hair?
Crown Act advocated. So
Oh, good. Okay.
it was a law, you
Okay.
know.
Thank
Right, right. And and it's interesting, these like, I think this is something that Malcolm X talked about in his that interview, just about laws and stuff. The laws are created. You can do it willfully, willingly, or unwillingly. And if the law creates a law that says you can't wear your hair that way, it's a law.
Yeah. Yeah.
Laws are powerful, and I think that laws dictate how people behave. I always say who you are back then is who you will be today, and who you are today is who you'll be back then.
True. And it's so interesting because I used to work, I did a not internship, but I did a freelance gig at Essence magazine.
Oh,
And the project I worked on was great places for African American women to work.
mm,
And I was doing, compiling the data and from the different companies that, a company wants to be voted great places. They want to feel like they're inclusive and, diverse and accepting of all different cultures. And so, but you'd be surprised how many companies within the companies in their employees manuals have something written into the manual about how people can come in to work with their hair. What they can they have a beard? Can they wear braids? No beads? So some companies really, really were kind of flagged because of their practices. So you'd
yeah.
be surprised how many companies have things that are anti.
Hmm. And you'll probably find with those companies the Crown Act that might have been passed.
Right.
I mean, and think about it, like how many, and this is something that I've been learning too with the whole segregation, separation, etc. Is what happens is you when you put certain things in a certain place, you 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 take away their opportunity for certain things. Like if you live all the way over here because that's where it is, you may not have the opportunity to do this. You understand? Like the
Yeah.
dandelion in the book, it says that he was looking at the flowers from afar. Like who knows if that dandelion was able to get the same sun, the same soil, the same.
Yeah.
And these
Yeah.
are things like, laws are very powerful. They can amend and allow for opportunity. And that's why, it's really important because think about it. If someone were to tell me I couldn't work because of my hair, then all the work I did to get my master's, all the work I did to learn how to be a competent teacher, all the things I did to make myself qualified and ready to do the best job I can do means absolutely nothing because
Right. So superficial, like, as a choice of wear your hair. That makes no sense.
right.
So I'm
So but again, laws were amended. Just like with segregation, laws were amended. And so we go to that place we were talking about. I think the first thing you said to me when we were talking about this was, I think that, it's a choice. People choose to separate,
hmm
you know.
they They do. I mean, people do choose to separate, but also you want to be, open and inclusive as well. I mean, I would love to have met my neighbors, and not we don't have to be in each other's homes or anything like that, but just a friendly conversation. Or like I used to do in New York, I'm going on vacation. Keep an eye out for me. That
Mhm.
or if they want to come over and ask me a question, or have me help them in some way. It's
Mhm.
good to
Sorry.
respect the neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, you really, it's helpful. It really is to be
Right.
on good terms with your neighbors.
Do you think that and this is where I love talking about like the real deal stuff. Like I often wonder, like my first, okay, let me tell you my first um experience down south. Cuz I'm an up north girl and I was 18 and I took a bus to Florida and we passed through, we were going through North Carolina, whatever, and it was the morning, and the bus driver said, "Okay, we're getting out. There's a restaurant." So back then, I was so naive and happy, like, "Okay, thank you, hello everybody." I was Miss New York, hello everybody. And he said to me, he said, "Be careful when you go in there." I was like, "Really? Why?" "Just be careful when you go in there." So I went in, and that was back when you could smoke, and it was filled with smoke, and it was a little diner. And I got my food, and I got to the counter, and I paid. I had my money, and the woman wouldn't take my money in her hand. Like I was standing there, like, and she just was giving me this look, like the nod, like drop it on the counter. I was like flabbergasted, like how. And I was bitter. I got really angry. I didn't say anything, but there was that quiet and that's the worst where you just walk away feeling like, oh my god, like like I feel so, but I'm saying that just to say that you get to this, you get into these spaces and places and you have these experiences, and it's like, wow, you don't think the rest of the world may think that way. Just because you're not living it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Right. It's true. I mean, I had the one experience that I had that was really like an eye opener for me is my neighbor, one person who I did actually talk to, who lives like, down, you made it a point of coming over and introducing himself. Him and his wife had a property, and he was taking me for a tour. It used to be an orchard at one time where they had citrus orchard, huge property. So he was showing me around the property and everything. And on the ground were these little pods. They looked like black pods, and they were kind of like size of 2 quarters or $half. So he picked up one. He's like, actually, I picked it up and I was like, wow, these are interesting, And he was like, oh yeah. He's like, they, I hope I don't offend you, but or we used to call them when we were kids. We used to call them N-word ears. And
Oh,
N-word ear. They were and they look kind of like a black ear, And so I was like, oh
were
my
they
god.
nuts? Were they nuts?
Oh, they were pods, like seed pods, but
Okay.
actually have I saved a couple because of the I picked up a couple and saved them because it was like that was crazy. So he said that to me. I hope I don't offend you, but these are N-word ears. We used to call them that when we were kids. So
Yeah.
I was shocked, but I basically told him, there's a history of lynchings and mutilations and cutting off different things for souvenirs, and I'm like, there's a history. I said, so that's not cool.
No,
That's
I'm
not cool.
surprised that he even had the
He
fear
say that.
to say it. Yeah.
He prefaced it, well, hope I'm not offending you, but, and he blurted it
But,
out.
and then still said it.
I said what I said, and needless to say, I really didn't really interact with him after, after that.
And do you think because, okay, so now this is where, because I'm always thinking like how, why, who, what, when, where, why. The uncomfortability could come from the guilt, maybe, of maybe my ancestors or my parents and grandparents. I heard some things, I saw some things, but that is not, sorry, but that is not me. So now when I see someone that looks like what I heard, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to respond to this person. I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's an awkwardness because even I mean, the fact he was a very nice man. He was very nice and brought me, wanted to show me the property and introduced his wife, and he was a really pleasant person until that was said. So then I was like, okay, we're different. This is different. And obviously you grew up saying that word on a regular basis, and
Right.
it being,
We
but he,
had, can I tell you what we had growing up? That's why I said what they look like, because we used to eat these nuts and they were brown, dark brown, and you had to crack them open. We used to crack them open with our door. And I remember I broke my door because they were so yummy. and you peel them apart, and inside there's just white meat. And I love them. And my grandmother told me, she goes, back in the day, they used to call those entos.
Oh,
Yeah. And I remember she told me that that's what they would call them. So I think, when you get into this space and place where everyone is one way, and it could be, I mean, we're just talking about um blacks and whites, but this could be anything. It could be any culture, any race, but we're just focusing here because that's the reality of this experience. But I think when you get to this place where you're kind of the only one, and people have been living a certain way, and over the past, years, decades, whatever, centuries, it's kind of ingrained, whether you feel it or not. It's in you because it's in your psyche. You know what I mean? And even though maybe there's no animosity, like this man was the sweetest man in the world, you know, but the visual of you is that memory or that connection to what they know.
right,
So it's difficult unless you are vibrating on some higher social plane where you can connect with anybody. It doesn't matter. The easy go-to thing is just to be polite, hello, hello, and keep going.
right, right. Because they don't know what to say. They don't want to say the wrong thing. It's an awkwardness because you don't have to. Basically, before I moved in, it wasn't a whole lot of. There was no need to, other than at the store, maybe at work, but where you live, all neighbors are like-minded, like one community. So me coming in, my sister lives here too, but in a biracial, she's an interracial relation marriage where it has a biracial child. So she's been able to navigate a little, differently than I did.
Hmm.
So, um, but it's all worked out. It's been an experience. It has, it
Wow.
really
Well, you've grown so much. What's going on with your shirt? Is that a dandelion?
has. I painted this for you.
You are kidding. I can't see it. Oh my gosh, all that time.
I
You,
did it like
oh my God, can I buy one from you?
so. I'm gonna send you one. I did it for my reading, basically.
Oh, that is so awesome. Wait, no, but you got to move up. We can't even see it.
No.
Now look at that. Oh
So,
my goodness.
grow, rise. I'm gonna do some kind of
Oh,
stenciling.
we have to start a dandelion movement. We have to take another Snapchat with your. That is so nice. I haven't seen it the entire time you're talking.
I'll send you a t-shirt.
Oh, that is beautiful. And you are the dandelion, you've transformed and you've blown everywhere. Look at you, you're doing your jewelry. Now you need to take your resume back.
Right.
Okay.
So, right, go there. So no, but I mean, I'm basically working in my own space, doing my own thing. So, as an entrepreneur, so it's working.
I love it. I love it. You're like the dandelion that's like just blossoming, blowing, and doing your thing. And it's not an easy thing what you did. A lot of people, and people that look like us, they choose to separate. And unfortunately, sometimes it's not because we want to own our own business and we need to be doing that, but it's the uncomfortability. And I think that's really the word for all races that choose to separate and choose to not blend, or not even choose to, but don't know how to blend or haven't had the opportunity to blend. you
That's
know
true. There's it's just like, and I know that there's some folks, like, even like, say, in Harlem or whatever neighborhood, and it's like they're don't come out of the neighborhood because of the same thing, uncomfortability, not feeling, accepted, or scared to kind of branch out. So that's, it goes, there's a lot of different reasons why that happens, and so that's why it's great to expose inner
yeah,
city inner city kids to all the different culture and and being comfortable
yes.
themselves, and
And
you
that's
know
why I wrote this book for children, because there's nothing more important. And I say this a lot in my interviews, that, I grew up in the nation. It was very black and white. And I knew as a kid, I did not want to go in my life just all black, all white. I wanted to be around human beings that would accept me and that I could accept too. So, um, sorry, my thing is going off. But this was a great talk. I feel like there's still so much more to
yeah, It's all going to work itself out. I mean, just you bringing up, this the book is a children's book, but it's going to open up a lot of conversations
Yeah.
and going to be a really good catalyst for some good talks and change.
Yeah,
So
real talks and change. And I think just by talking to you, it helped me to realize that, wow, maybe the root of it is really some people are just uncomfortable. I'm obviously you have hate. That's clear. We've had wars in all parts of the world over race and all that kind of stuff. And but I think that with just, the everyday person that is just kind of uncomfortable with blending, just uncomfortable. And maybe that's where we need to start the conversation. Like, and ask, are you comfortable around someone who doesn't look like you? Because that to me is a more forthright question than, when people say, oh, are you a racist? It's just so easy to go there. To call the first time someone says something, oh, they're racist. Don't go there so quickly. Dig a little deeper. Find out their history. Find out their back. I'm gonna say this. We have a few more minutes. I'm gonna tell you a little story. When I used to work on Wall Street, I was, wouldn't miss New York. Hey, hey, everybody. I could talk to anybody. From the top CEO, they'd walk in. Hey, how are you? Hey, Jahidah. It didn't matter to the janitor. I didn't care. But it was the young African American male boys. When they would walk into these offices, they'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Da, 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 da. And then as soon as the CEO would walk by, their eyes would go down. And I
wow.
used to look at that and be like, "What?" So when I had my children, I was like, "No, no, no! You're gonna play with little white children and Indian and Spanish. You're gonna play with everyone." So when you are a grown man, you feel like you own this world. You belong in this world, not
Mhm.
in on this block, but in
Hold your
the
hand.
world.
Hold, look people in the eye. Look everybody in the eye. That's right.
That's right, because we're human. You bleed, I bleed.
Right.
So yeah, so comfortability, because I don't think the CEO hated the male guy, and I don't think the male guy hated the CEO. They were uncomfortable. So maybe that's where the new discussion needs to start. You know, are you comfortable? The dandelion. Are you comfortable?
You have to give me the word. Whatever you tell me the word is, I'll make that the word.
Whatever you want. I love the shirt. Dana, thank you so much. This has been awesome. We finally got here. I'm so happy. Um,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
thank you again for reading the book.
You're welcome. It was great. I read the book. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. And you can get the book, The Blended Garden, Amazon.com through Kindle. No, there are no hard copies right now. If you're watching this video till the end, then please click subscribe. I can never say that word. Subscribe. My mouth won't do it. Subscribe. And share this video, maybe with some friends that, want to have a deeper conversation about this. And maybe that could be another conversation. We can come on and bring other people. I have a friend, Kristen Eno. I said she's like the white Malcolm X, my girlfriend. She's out protesting all the time for the fight the power. But it would be great. Maybe we'll have like another Zoom with friends and we can talk about the whole, are you comfortable? Are we
That's
comfortable?
a panel. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say I think that the book needs to work on printing it because the illustrations, getting a hard copy,
Okay.
it's just a beautiful book. It's so beautiful, the photographs and everything. So it'll be really great. We'll work on it.
Yes, I'll work on that. I've got to get a budget for it. But the illustrator, Miss Anna O'Doul, she was Anna O'Donnell. So I can't always say Anna O'Doul. Anna O'Donnell was the illustrator, and I'm hoping to somehow get her on at some point. But I will definitely. That will be my goal to.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book. I mean, it's just the words, it's poetry basically. It really touched me. So thank you for
Oh,
letting me.
thank you, Dana, so much. And hopefully, when I get to Florida, I'll come visit you.
Definitely better.
I will. I will. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching the Blended Garden community. Find us YouTube, the Blended Garden, the Fairy Gardener, and take care of your garden.
Hey, bye.